channel. Today I am going to do a haunted, paranormal, spooky video where I'm going to tell you some paranormal stories that have happened to me and my family. Okay, so most of these stories, oh by the way, I have this on my wrist, because I've just come back from a trampolining place. Anyway, yeah, so most of my stories are actually my mum's stories. They're things that have happened to my mum. Not many things have happened to me personally, but I will tell you a couple of things that have happened. But yeah, some of the spooky ones have happened to my mum, but I've been there when it's happened. So yeah, I'll get into the stories now. Also, I think my outfit looks quite Halloween-y, even though it's not Halloween. Like, looks quite spooky with a choker all black. I don't know. Okay, so I definitely think that my mum has got some supernatural, paranormal, whatever you call it, being following her. I'm actually quite scared telling this because I'm currently home alone, and yeah, I'm just a bit freaked out about telling this. But yeah, so my mum has had quite a few unusual experiences. So one of the experiences, well, two experiences that happened was when we were in Ireland when I was about 5 years old. So my mum and some of our family we were all staying in this house. It was 3 stories, so it was quite big, and it had like a forest around it, and you had to drive, like the whole atmosphere of the house was just so spooky. It was, as you drove in, it was all covered in trees, and it was like this little, I don't know how to describe it, I forget words all the time, it's really bad. It was like this little pathway that you drove into to get to the house, and there were like bricks on the floor next to it, as if a house had fallen down next to it. But yeah, I just remember that the house was really, really spooky looking. So anyway, on this particular night, it was the first night I think it happened, all of my family went out and my mum stayed at home to look after me. They went out at night to go to the pub, which was just down the road. And so we had, in our room, we had a double bed and a single bed, where I was supposed to sleep in the single bed and my mum and my other family member were supposed to sleep in the double bed, but I'm way too scared. I was way too scared for years to sleep by myself. So I slept in the double bed with my mum. And anyway, so this night the other family member had gone to the pub and we were all sleeping, and then I think, yeah, they'd come back from the pub, and I'm telling this, sorry if this is really jumbled, I'm just like trying to remember it was quite a long time ago. So anyway, yeah, so the other family member had come back, they were in the bed, me and my mum were in the bed, and I fell out of the bed. So I fell out of the bed, I was crying, my mum put me back in the bed and like calmed me down, and I went back to sleep. The other family member was in the single bed, and they were snoring very, very, very loudly. So from our room we had like an ensuite, but you could also access this ensuite from the hallway, but it was locked, so we couldn't access it, but there was a door that, you know, you'd be able to access it if we had the key. And so my mum went to the toilet, she was sitting on the toilet, middle of the night, and she heard someone calling her name. And they kept whispering her name, and she was like, yeah, what do you want, what's wrong? And all they did was just whisper her name. They didn't reply to anything else. She looked under the door, she couldn't see anybody, so she just assumed that it was one of our family members asking if I was okay, because I'd fallen out of the bed. So anyway, she went back to bed. The next morning, my mum and my other family member that was in our room went down for breakfast, and my mum was like, so where's everyone else? Where's my granddad? Where's my aunt? Where's everyone else? Are they still in bed? And my other family member said to my mum, he was like, no, they didn't come back last night. They stayed at my great aunt's house. They all went and stayed there because it's like a house that was down the road, and they just obviously found it easier to go stay there. So my mum was like, so who was that was calling me under the door last night? And they were calling my name and nobody was there. So yeah, it was just really freaky. Like, she heard someone calling her name from underneath a door in the middle of the night and there was nobody there. My other family member was in the bed, I was asleep and no one else was in the house. It was literally just us three in the house, and she's not really one that would imagine these things, which is just, I don't know. So in this house, in this same house, everyone else went out again as usual. It was just me and my mum this time, so I was fast asleep, and my mum could hear a knocking on one of the windows, like, or the front door, like near the front of the house. She could hear a knocking. So she looked out the window and the security light was on, but there was nobody there. So she was like, oh, okay, there's nobody there, must be someone playing a prank. And then she got back into bed and she heard it again, and again there was nobody there. So 2 nights in a row, like 2 nights within the same holiday, she had 2 spooky things happen and there were no explanation for it. Everybody was out, everyone was out in the pub. It was just me and my mum, and it wasn't really like, you'd see someone. She was so quick looking out this window that she would see someone if they'd run away and they were playing a trick. So it's like there couldn't have been anyone actually there playing a trick on her. Yeah, so creepy. Another spooky story that happened when I was younger was my mum, my cousin had recently just died. He was 15, he died in a car accident. So I was around 5, I was 5 at the time, and all the family had come to my house. I'm not sure how long later it wasn't very long later. So all the family had gathered around my house. It was my mum and my cousins, there was other cousins, the ones whose brother had passed away, and then my cousin's mum, so my aunt, the one that had passed away, the cousin, his mum was there. And me and my cousin, my little cousin, he was the same age as me, we were both 5, we were in the front room, so we weren't actually in the room at the time. They were all sitting in the kitchen, and in my kitchen in my old house, it was a bungalow, so there was the back door, and then there was the door like here where you walked in from the hallway into the kitchen, and they were all sitting, and one of my cousins was sitting in front of not the back door, the door that was here. So anyway, my aunt said that she felt a really unusual feeling in her stomach, the one she'd lost her son. She said she felt a really unusual feeling in her stomach, like something was going back into her stomach. It was really warm. And anyway, as she was saying that she felt that, the door from the hallway into the kitchen swung open and it hit the chair that my cousin was sitting on. It hit the back of the chair, and she jumped up and she was like, oh my god, what was that? Like, what was that? The kids weren't there, me and my cousin weren't there, so she was just like, what was that? And as that happened, one of the cupboard doors where the glasses were opened, one of the glasses moved forward, and then the tap turned on all by itself. All of these people, all of my family members witnessed it. This happened, and the only explanation that we could have thought it would be, we could think of, I can't even speak, oh my god, the only explanation that they thought it was that my cousin who had passed away, he always came to my mum's house and asked for a glass of water. Like, every time that he arrived, he asked straight away for a glass of water. So that's what we thought it was. His mum had a weird feeling in her stomach just before it happened, and then my cousin used to always ask for a glass of water. So, and there was no other explanation for it. Like, the glasses can't move by themselves, doors can't open by themselves, taps can't turn on by themselves. So I don't know, I just think it's crazy how these things happen. Like, I don't know, I think that anyone who doesn't believe in the paranormal are just, I don't know, I guess they've just never experienced it, but I definitely 100% believe that there is something. There has to be. There's been so many unusual things that have happened. Okay. Also, when I was a baby, my mum had so when I was 2, we moved to Peterborough in Cambridgeshire, and so in this house, I was asleep, it was during the night, and my mum heard a piano playing, like something making noise anyway. So we kept all of my toys in the conservatory, which was just off of the living room. So my mum goes into the living room following this noise, looks out into the conservatory, and my little piano, which was, I think it was battery operated, but it wasn't one that you could press a button and it would play a tune, like you had to physically push down the buttons for it to actually make a noise. Anyway, so she walks out and sees my little piano playing by itself, like the keys were physically going down by themselves. And my mum isn't someone who would lie or make something up like this. Like, if you even ask her about paranormal stuff, she doesn't really want to talk about, like, she doesn't really talk about it, and she doesn't really get scared of it either, but she is not a liar. She wouldn't make this stuff up. So I know that some people probably wouldn't believe this sort of stuff, but I can promise you, my mum doesn't make this stuff up. Like, she literally saw my little piano, she saw the keys pushing down, playing a tune, and there was no one there. How... I don't even know. I don't even know. So the final paranormal thing I'm going to tell you actually happened to me. I was sleeping in my mum's bed. I was about 12 or 13 and I was in my mum's bed one night, and I remember waking up and I was laying on my front. I guess this really could be, like, before I say it, it's probably not paranormal. It was probably sleep paralysis, but it was spooky either way. Like, who knows? Could have been paranormal, probably wasn't, but it was spooky. So I was laying on my front and my mum was laying beside me. She was fast asleep and I felt like I couldn't move. I was stiff and I could feel something. It was like a presence. I could feel something coming into the room and standing over the bed on my mum's side, and I was standing there. I was laying there so scared. I remember trying to say my mum's name, well, say mum because I call her mum. I was like trying to say mum and nothing would come out, and then I felt like I was slowly being dragged out of the bed. It was one of the scariest feelings I've ever felt because I could not move. I didn't know why I couldn't move. It was so spooky, and eventually I managed to say mum and she woke up and I was able to move, but just the whole feeling of not being able to move, not being able to speak, and when you're in that state, it just, like, it felt so real. I thought someone was pulling me out of the bed and I didn't know what had happened. I thought I'd been drugged or something. My mum was fast asleep and I had no idea what to do. It was so scary. So that's all of my spooky stories to tell you for today. I do have a lot more, and I also have a psychic story that I can tell you. I went to see a psychic, which was absolutely crazy. Like, the things she told me were just so true, so real. And I actually got to speak to my cousin who had died, who I mentioned earlier, which was amazing. So yeah, if you want me to tell you any more stories like this, any more storytime videos, or anything, I have quite a lot of story times to tell you. If you just want to know, if you just want me to tell you any more, leave a comment down below or message me on my Instagram, anything like that. And yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe because that would be really good. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.